Hey kids, do you like Snake Eyes? Do you like the Batman Arkham games?
Would you like some Snake Eyes in your Arkham games?
Word on the street is that former ROCKSTEADY developers are working on a new video game. But Chad, actually, you don't talk about video games.
Chad, how insensitive of you.
Actually, I do. If it's a Snake Eyes game, kind of based on these. Let's get into it. Okay, so we've got this article from MSN Entertainment, and it says former Batman Arkham developers working on a new G.I. Joe game. The link to the article will be in the description of this video, as always, because I credit people for their content. Know what I mean? This article, written by Chris Maruthi, states former creators of the renowned Batman Arkham series are now putting their efforts into relaunching G.I. Joe in the realm of video games. Atomic Arcade, which is being led by the creative director behind Rocksteady's Batman Arkham games, Ames Kirshen, has set high expectations for a brand new and exciting reinterpretation of G.I. Joe. So this isn't actually Rocksteady doing it, for anyone who's concerned about the abysmal failure of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which cost Warner Brothers Games and Rocksteady $200 million because of its colossal failure. Here's a tweet or an X. I don't know. I don't have X or Tweeter. From Hazador that says Hasbro-owned studio Atomic Arcade is developing a AAA G.I. Joe Snake Eyes game from the makers of Batman Arkham Asylum. We'll get into that a little bit later. Says the studio is attempting to do something similar for the G.I. Joe IP as what Arkham Asylum did for Batman. Pretty cool. A new beginning for G.I. Joe gaming. While the history of the G.I. Joe franchise is like a legend for many game players, its attempts in video games are not liked by some people. Right. Yeah. Different mythology and several characters became the recognizable traits of the brand. Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow. But previous game adaptations could never bring the vibe of that brand into the gameplay, not worthy of the fans looking for something from their childhood. Yeah. I know they made an effort with Operation Blackout, but some good Easter eggs, but overall the game was just kind of bland. On the other hand, in the case of Hasbro, the investment of $1 billion into the development of video games suggests that the trend might be shrinking. I've talked about it before. Other YouTube channels that discuss Hasbro have talked about it before. Chris Cox is moving Hasbro away from a toy company that also does gaming to a gaming company that happens to make toys. Dan Ayub, the CEO of the digital product development at Wizards of the Coast of Hasbro, has spilled out juicy info in an interview with GamesIndustry.biz. This title, the latest addition to the Atomic Arcade market, promises to usher in a new dimension to the world of G.I. Joe, with a darker tone compared to the traditional representation of the franchise. Ayub's phrase that this is not your, quote, daddy's G.I. Joe. Actually, I take offense to that. Thank you. Means that it moves away from the comic nature of earlier versions and hence onto a more mature and thoughtful film. Okay. I don't know if this person ever read the Larry Hama Marvel run of G.I. Joe. The comic nature of that was pretty damn serious. The Snake Eyes Promise. At the heart of the upcoming G.I. Joe game lies one of the franchise's most enigmatic and compelling characters, Snake Eyes. I like how they put it in quotes. Probably the most well-known of them all, of course he is. Snake Eyes is the personification of each G.I. Joe. A master of his steel-framed attitude and a fighter who is simply superior to everyone else. Snake Eyes is a superior fighter. That is true. He shouldn't be used as like a MacGuffin device, G.I. Jesus kind of thing. And I don't agree that he's the personification of each G.I. Joe. He's a member of a team. Something else we're going to talk about in a little bit after we finish this article. The film Atomic Arcade uses its central narrative of a celebrity character to dive more deeply into his past story and the multifaceted nature of his life in a world in which violence and mystery prevails. Flashback stuff. The choice of Snake Eyes as the main character is part of a strategy that will make the players part of the action and also engulf them in the thrilling and daring adventures of the character. Remember Snake Eyes? From the experience of veteran Batman Arkham developers directing the new game, the audience can anticipate a polished gameplay that will fully honor the great reputation of Snake Eyes in the G.I. Joe mythic story. Those Arkham games are good. Expectations in the middle of industry trends. The newest title by ROCKSTEADY's Suicide Squad video game. That's kind of written like shit. The newest title by ROCKSTEADY, which is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, has created a stir in the fan base, and therefore it is shifting to a different direction to bring the studio back to its former fame. The G.I. Joe game made by Atomic Arcade in the aspect of manufacturing and programming is as innovative as their past, and also franchise history is excellent in portraying earlier released video games. This is really wordy. I want to talk to the guy who wrote this. The announcement of the new G.I. Joe game developed by Atomic Arcade, helmed by ex-Batman Arkham developers, has lit the way for enthusiasm among fans. What makes the upcoming title special is its promise to offer a more realistic approach to the franchise and an emphasis on the only distinctive character in the army of G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes. How is Snake Eyes the only distinctive character in G.I. Joe? That's that bullshit. He's not the only distinctive character. He's just a guy that they took all the deco off of and made him faceless, and so he became popular. You know, mysterious characters are popular. Leave them mysterious. Still, he's part of a team. He's not the be-all, end-all. We saw what happened when they tried to make a solo movie about him. As the industry eagerly awaits further details, one thing is certain. The Atomic Arcade team will show in its game that it will touch the hearts of old fans as well as the ones who will discover it for the first time. G.I. Joe desperately needs media. Desperately. I know you got the dollies, but you need media.
Find out in Marvel Comics.
Okay, so there's a good amount to kind of take in and also unpack regarding that article. And I'm going to approach it sort of a compliment sandwich. Talk about the positives, talk about some concerns, talk about some positives, right? That's kind of the best way to get a message across without being seen as toxic or a hater or a crybaby. So there's 4 main titles in the Arkhamverse. So you have Asylum, City, Origins. Even though it was made by Warner Brothers Montreal, it's still part of the Arkhamverse. And then you have Arkham Knight. Then there's a bunch of additional titles. So altogether, there's about 11 titles. Correct me if I'm wrong. That also includes the upcoming Batman Arkham Shadow VR game that'll be coming out this year. A couple of things to think about. Is it pretty lofty to want to do a Snake Eyes game in the style of the Arkham games? Yeah, it's lofty. But it's also kind of brilliant if you think about it. If Atomic Arcade can stick the landing with this game, you're looking at something that's really unique. Those Arkham games, they are the definitive superhero video games. They're the definitive Batman almost anything aside from, the animated series. The Arkham games are where it's at. The first thing that I'm concerned about would be the verticality. Now, Batman hides and he stalks, and there's a lot of predator challenges involved in the Arkham games, but Batman uses a lot of verticality. He glides, he uses his grapnel gun, he uses gargoyles and perches and things like that. He uses higher vantage points. When talking about Snake Eyes, that's not really something that Snake Eyes has at his disposal. But one thing that one of my channel subscribers and a good friend pointed out is that you could take aspects of the Arkham games and also Splinter Cell and sort of put them together and address the verticality that Batman really relies on in the Arkham games. Another thing, this is a positive. If the article talked about, the character's history, then you could play some pretty cool flashback levels. I don't know if they're going to go into the whole Vietnam backstory with the Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol or the LRP team that Snake Eyes, Stalker, and Storm Shadow were all part of, with some other guys who were kind of interspersed in the comics. But it could be really cool. And also, Arkham Asylum is the one game that's mentioned in that article specifically. What does Asylum have that's different from, say, Arkham City or Arkham Knight or even Arkham Origins? Arkham Asylum is contained on an island. So then you could look at, say, Cobra Island. That might be a pretty good bet. And I think that that would add a lot to not only having somewhat of an open world, but at the same time being contained. Another concern that I do have just from the face value of that article, which is kind of weirdly written, is that I don't want to see Snake Eyes be the only focus of the game. One of the good things about the Arkham games is you see characters like Catwoman come in, especially in Arkham City, and you play missions as Catwoman, and you see other characters, Azrael, Robin, Nightwing, little side missions where, you face Hush and things like that. And even in Arkham Asylum, you had some side missions too. Not a lot, but a lot of the Rogues Gallery made appearances and some allies as well, especially Jim Gordon. So you could tie in a lot of stuff in a Snake Eyes game that's based on the Arkham series, where you have, say, a Duke or a Scarlet. If you're going to do flashback stuff, you could easily have Stalker. You could have Storm Shadow. It's going to have Storm Shadow no matter what, right? Because Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. You could also have the game set in this location. Silent Castle, Transcarpathia Mountains. Yeah, you could do that too. So the Silent Castle location in the mountains or Cobra Island would be fantastic locations that sort of have those invisible boundaries, be it water or mountain ranges, where you could really explore an awesome Snake Eyes game based on the Arkham series. Skill trees and the gadget unlocks, all the stuff that you don't necessarily grind, but you get it as you progress through the Arkham games, especially Asylum. I'm trying to stay around Asylum because the article mentions Asylum, and I think that's really the way to go. All of those aspects of game progression will absolutely work for a character like Snake Eyes. His fighting skills, his gadgets, his weapons. Another thing to consider about the whole elephant in the room is that even though Rocksteady's Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League lost $200 million, even though every single game-related or pop culture-related YouTuber seemed to jump on that engagement farming bandwagon about, oh, Sweet Baby Inc. ruined Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, there is no indication that Rocksteady proper is going to be working on this game, because the article cites Atomic Arcade with developers who worked on Arkham Asylum. There's a difference. Does that mean that Sweet Baby Inc. won't be involved? I don't know. I really don't care. I don't fear that boogeyman. G.I. Joe has always been diverse, so I don't think all that DEI boogeyman stuff ever really applies to G.I. Joe. Quick public service announcement before we wrap up this video. If you like what you see here, why not hit the subscribe button? I would appreciate it very much. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell, and then that way you'll be notified the next time I put out new content. If you want to consider supporting the channel further, in the description of this video, there's a link to become a channel member, and I give all sorts of exclusive content, live streams, videos, shorts, whatever, community messages to my channel members. And, you know, it's a fun way to get in on the fellowship of the dollies. And also, if you want some sweet merch, that link is in the description as well. So those are my thoughts on an Arkham Asylum style Snake Eyes game, but I want to know what you think. Are you interested in it? Do you think it could be great? Do you think it might be a disaster? Would you like to see it set in a location like the Silent Castle in issue 21 of the Marvel run? Or would you like to see it set on, say, Cobra Island so it really gets that Arkham Asylum kind of feel? Leave a comment below. Let's talk some Joe and have an awesome day. Hey kids, do you like Snake Eyes? Are going to be working on a new GI. Yeah. You could take aspects of. I forgot. And then you'll be notified anytime I put out new channels. Damn it. Take two. Shit. Issue 21, Silent. All the bloopers. All the bloopers today.